beyond the perimeters of Baghdad, outside of the capital and well outside the gaze of members of the political class, there are, of course, tens of thousands of people who remain dispossessed as a result of the war with ISIS. And though ISIS no longer holds territory, it still, to a certain extent, holds those people in the grip of terror. Is there any hope for them? I have a sense that the people of Iraq, and certainly the people of the international community, have largely forgotten about the vast numbers of people in whose name that war was fought to liberate them from ISIS. And now that ISIS has lost much of its power, those people remain prisoners of the aftermath of the war, and to a certain extent remain under the malevolent glare of ISIS. Is the political system in Iraq that has struggled to provide basic services capable of doing anything for those people? And if not, is there a risk that the desperation that is being fomented amongst them and being cultivated in refugee camps might actually cause a reanimation of ISIS or like organizations?
Great comment and question. Just to put the context clearly, so the conflict with ISIS, this terrorist organization, produced about 6 million displaced Iraqis in Iraq, actually internally displaced. About 5 million of those have returned either home or to their provinces after the major military operations were over. There are about 1 million people still unable to return home. It includes a combination of Sunni Arabs, a combination of the ethnic and religious minorities from Nineveh and other provinces, but also there is a more complex subset of the displaced population, and those are people who are perceived to be affiliated with ISIS, or that individual members of their families to have been affiliated with ISIS, either as a member or as a fighter. That perceived affiliation, that we're talking about tens of thousands of people in that category. And then there are also the families of actual ISIS fighters. Because when the conflict, when the major military campaign was over in Iraq, military defeat of ISIS was declared in December of 2017. In Syria, it was declared in March of 2019. A good number of ISIS family members were taken from the battlefield and put in what's called Al-Hol camp in northeast Syria. The population at its peak there in that camp alone reached about 72 to 73,000, including nationalities from about 60 countries. But the vast majority were Iraqis and Syrians, about 60,000. The Iraqi population in that camp, only a year ago, the government of Iraq started putting a process in place to start to return those people from Al-Hol camp. To date, in a span of a year, about 3,900 individuals have been returned, about 760 or thereabout families. So that's a very slow process, and you're absolutely right. Especially this group represents a very complex subset of the problem of what I usually term as the human legacies of the conflict with ISIS, where their return to their communities has been slow because there is institutional and community barriers and opposition to their return. On the Iraq side, the institutional barriers are being worked and there is a degree of progress, but the communal side, where the community says, okay, you are responsible for the conflict, responsible for my displacement, you are responsible for losing members of my family, how can I accept you to come back? So there is a degree of reconciliation work, that's social cohesion work that needs to happen, that it's not in place. So if we lose sight of this problem, it could form again into a more complex problem that the global coalition had to fight in between 2014 to 2019. The war in Ukraine, the the general direction of great power competition with China and Russia, needs of Latin America and other places are taking the attention away from this kind of problem. So thank you for bringing it up.